Disclaimer: this story contains mature themes intended for adult viewers. Viewer discretion is advised. It started like any other night. I was curled up on the couch in my favorite oversized sweater, legs tucked beneath me, the soft hum of the television filling the living room. The news anchor droned on in the background about something I wasn't really listening to. My thoughts were elsewhere. The house was dimly lit, and outside, rain tapped gently against the window panes, adding a strange comfort to the stillness. I wasn't expecting anything. Not a kiss. Not a question. Certainly not that. Jake, my husband of 7 years, was in the kitchen, rinsing out a glass. His silence had stretched for days now. At first, I thought it was stress from work, or maybe just one of his moods. But deep down, I felt the shift. Something invisible had lodged itself between us. The way his eyes stopped searching for mine. The absence of his hand brushing my back when he passed me. There was love once. Now, I wasn't sure. He walked in quietly, his steps muted by the rug, and without a word, sat beside me. His arm draped lazily behind me on the couch. It felt performative, like muscle memory. My breath caught when his hand brushed my thigh, not out of arousal, but confusion. We hadn't touched in weeks. I looked at him. Really looked. There were shadows under his eyes, a tightness in his jaw. But there was something else, something unreadable. His thumb moved slowly, tracing lazy circles over the fabric of my leggings. My body didn't know how to respond. My heart thudded, torn between fear, longing, and disbelief. We used to laugh on this couch. We used to share ice cream, whisper secrets. Now this touch felt foreign. A demand, not a dance. Jake? I asked softly, unsure of what I was even asking. He didn't answer. Instead, he leaned closer, his breath warm against my neck. The TV flickered, casting blue shadows over both of us. I felt the pressure of his hand shift, and then, with a sudden grip, he pulled my legs apart, just enough to make me flinch. It wasn't rough. But it wasn't tender either. I froze. Not because I was afraid. But because I was shocked. By him. By me. By the sudden intimacy, so unannounced, so unlike the man I once knew. 1,000 questions fired through my mind. Was this his way of reclaiming something lost between us, or hiding something darker? He whispered my name then, but it wasn't the way he used to. It was hollow. My name had never sounded so far away. That's when I saw it, on the coffee table. A phone that wasn't mine. Face down. New. I blinked. And suddenly, I wasn't sure who this man really was. For a moment, we just sat there. The air between us felt thicker than ever, humming with tension neither of us knew how to name. Jake's hand lingered on my leg, warm and heavy, but there was no rhythm to his touch, no passion, no tenderness. Just a quiet kind of insistence. I wanted to ask him what he was doing. I wanted to pull away. But more than anything, I wanted him to see me again. We used to be all over each other. Late night wine on the floor of our first apartment, tangled in laughter and kisses. He used to brush my hair behind my ear like it meant something. He used to look at me like I was his home. But that was before the long hours at work. Before the excuses. Before the arguments that ended in cold shoulders instead of apologies. Now, I couldn't even remember the last time he'd really talked to me. He shifted beside me, his body close but his mind clearly elsewhere. I watched his eyes scan the room, avoiding mine. That phone still sat there, untouched. And I still didn't ask. Maybe I didn't want to know. Maybe I was scared of confirming what my heart already feared. Is something wrong? I finally asked, my voice softer than I expected. Jake sighed, like my question was an inconvenience. No. Why? His tone wasn't cruel. Just empty. Like the answer had been rehearsed. Like he'd already had this conversation in his head 100 times. I leaned back slightly, creating the smallest space between us. A symbolic inch, but it felt like miles. I hesitated, trying to wrap words around my confusion. I feel like we're not okay. And I don't know how we got here. His jaw tightened, but he didn't respond right away. His silence said more than any words could. I studied him. The way he avoided my gaze. The way he looked exhausted, but not from work. From me, maybe. Or from pretending. There was a softness in me that still loved him, that still longed for that boy who used to kiss my forehead before we fell asleep. But that softness was now bruised by suspicion, by months of unanswered questions and lingering emotional distance. Jake reached for the remote, casually changing the channel, like our unraveling wasn't unfolding in real time, right there between us. But I noticed the glance he gave the phone on the table. Quick. Nervous. He didn't think I saw. But I did. And I knew, in that moment, that something was coming. I didn't say anything right away. I let the silence stretch between us, brittle and awkward. Jake leaned back on the couch, the kind of lean that says, I'm done for the night. But I wasn't. My heart was still wide awake, racing with questions I couldn't stop asking myself. The TV played some generic sitcom, laugh tracks echoing unnaturally through the room. It felt absurd, like a forced normalcy laid over a marriage unraveling in real time. I glanced at him, stealing a moment to study the slope of his shoulders. He looked tired. Not just from the day, but from the weight of whatever he wasn't saying. He reached down to grab his drink from the table. That's when it happened. The phone, that phone, buzzed. Just once. A soft vibration. But it was enough. Jake didn't flinch, but I saw the muscles in his arm tense. He didn't pick it up. He didn't even look at it. He just kept his gaze fixed on the TV, suddenly very interested in a show he hadn't noticed for the last 10 minutes. I stared at the phone. Long enough for the screen to light up and then fade again. No name. Just a preview of a message too short to read, too long to ignore. And in that one moment, I felt the weight of every time he came home late. Every time he said he was tired. Every time he kissed me like he was trying to remember how. My throat tightened. I didn't want to accuse. I didn't want to be that woman. The one who snoops. The one who demands proof. But the emotional math wasn't adding up. So I did the only thing I could. I saw the message, I whispered, my eyes still on the TV. He froze. Barely noticeable, but I knew him too well not to catch it. Jake turned to me, slowly. His face a mask of calm, but his eyes gave him away. What message? I could have pushed. I could have asked whose phone it was, who'd sent the text, why he never brought it up. But something in me hesitated. Not out of fear, but from that deep, aching desire not to break something already fragile. I just want to know if you're still here, with me, I said instead, my voice barely a breath. He didn't answer. Instead, his hand reached for mine, slowly, carefully, as if testing the waters. Our fingers touched, familiar and foreign all at once. But there was no pressure. No pull. Just the empty weight of what used to be connection. And in that moment, I remembered a small detail from earlier that day. His cologne was different. Subtler. New. The kind you don't wear for errands or routine. The kind you wear to impress. For someone. Somewhere. A knot formed in my stomach. The doorbell rang suddenly. We both turned toward the sound, startled. Jake stood up quickly, too quickly. I'll get it, he said. But I was already standing. I think I should. His eyes met mine then. And for the first time that night, I saw panic. Real, unmistakable panic. The hallway felt longer than usual as I walked toward the door, every step echoing with memories and questions I hadn't dared to voice. Behind me, Jake remained still, his presence suddenly feeling miles away. The rain outside had thickened into a soft downpour, its hush pressing against the windows like a secret trying to seep in. I paused, hand hovering over the doorknob. Something in me didn't want to open it, not out of fear of what or who stood on the other side, but because I was afraid that whatever happened next, there would be no going back. I turned, catching Jake's reflection in the mirror across the room. He hadn't moved. His eyes were locked on me, wide, unreadable, with just the faintest sheen of worry, or guilt. "I don't even know who you are right now," I whispered. He stepped forward, just one step. "You do," he said softly, his voice almost breaking. "You do. You just forgot." "No," I said, shaking my head, tears brimming in my eyes. "You forgot. You forgot how to look at me like I was yours." There it was, raw, exposed. A truth I hadn't dared speak until now. My chest ached with the weight of it. Jake's face cracked, his defenses slipping. He crossed the room slowly, almost carefully, like I was something fragile. When he reached me, he stopped just inches away. The space between us hummed with a pull neither of us could ignore. His hand lifted to my face, hesitant, trembling slightly. I didn't move. I didn't lean in, but I didn't pull away either. "I miss you," he breathed. "Even when I'm right here, I miss you." It was the first honest thing he'd said in weeks. Maybe months. Tears slipped down my cheeks. My hands, still gripping the doorknob, loosened. "I miss us too," I said, barely audible. "But I don't know if we can find our way back." Jake's forehead touched mine. We stood there, not kissing, not speaking, just sharing breath, heartbreak and desire tangled in silence. And then the doorbell rang again. Louder this time. A knock followed. Sharp. Impatient. I closed my eyes. He pulled away. Everything between us shattered in that space. The knock struck again, firmer this time, followed by the unmistakable sound of footsteps shifting outside. Jake stepped back. His expression twisted in a way I couldn't fully read. Guilt? Panic? Resignation? My hand gripped the doorknob again, trembling now. A storm was building, not outside, but inside me. A part of me didn't want to know what was waiting behind that door. The other part needed to. When I opened it, the world slowed. A woman stood on our porch. Mid-30s, tall, stunning in that sharp, effortless way that makes you immediately question your own reflection. She wore a long black trench coat, wet from the rain, her lips painted red like it meant something. In her hand, she clutched a phone. The same phone. My eyes flicked from her face to the phone, and then back again. She looked at me, not Jake, when she spoke. "I think I left something behind," she said calmly, but her eyes told a different story. There was tension behind them. Ownership. Expectation. I couldn't speak. My mouth went dry. Behind me, I felt Jake move closer. He didn't say a word. "Sorry," she added, almost as an afterthought. I didn't mean to interrupt. But she had. And she knew it. I stepped aside instinctively, more out of shock than courtesy. She entered the house like she'd done it before. Like she knew the hallway. Knew where the light switch was. Like she'd stood in this space with Jake before, when I wasn't here. She moved with the confidence of a woman who had nothing to hide, because she thought the hiding was already over. Jake's voice finally broke the silence. "Sophie," but he didn't finish the sentence. Her name hit me like ice water. Sophie. The name from the message preview I'd caught earlier. The name he had casually mentioned once, months ago, as a new project manager at work. I turned to him, disbelief cracking through every inch of my body. She's been here? Jake opened his mouth but closed it again, like every answer he had was already too late. Sophie stood still, watching me now. Her eyes softened slightly, but there was no apology in them. I didn't know she'd be here, she said finally. The lie was thin. And it burned. The worst part? I still wanted him. Even now. Even after this. That's what scared me most. The room felt like it was tilting. My heart hammered in my chest as I stared between them, Jake and Sophie, two people who had rewritten my reality without my consent. My voice had gone somewhere far away. All I could hear was the distant storm and the sound of my breath. Jake stepped forward, finally. I didn't mean for you to find out like this. I laughed. A dry, cracked sound. You mean it all, right? Sophie glanced away. For the first time, she looked unsure. I turned to Jake, rage colliding with heartbreak. Was this about love, Jake? Or just escaping whatever we became? His face twisted, like the truth hurt him more than the lie. It wasn't just about her. It was about you and me, drifting. And I didn't know how to fix it. I thought if I could feel something again, you should have told me, I said, voice breaking. I deserved the truth. Not this performance. And then, softly, Sophie said something I didn't expect. I think you should see this. She unlocked the phone and handed it to me. My fingers trembled as I took it. A message was open, an unsent draft. From Jake. I can't do this. I miss her. Every night. Even when I'm with you. Sophie looked at me, calm now, almost kind. He ended it 2 weeks ago. I came to return the phone. He was going to tell you. He was trying. Jake stepped forward. I couldn't live with it. With lying to you. I still love you. Something inside me shattered, and healed at the same time. Not all of it. But enough. You broke me, Jake, I whispered. But I'd already started to fall apart on my own. Maybe we both forgot how to fight for us. He reached out, hesitant, open. And this time, I took his hand. But then, one last twist unraveled. Sophie smiled faintly. You're stronger than he thinks, she said, stepping toward the door. And, he's not the only one who's been looking at you. She looked at me when she said it. With softness. Intention. And just like that, the door closed behind her. I stood there, shaken, unsure, but undeniably awake. Everything had changed. Forever. The days that followed felt both heavy and strangely light. Jake and I didn't dive into healing right away. We didn't pretend everything was okay. We sat in silence more often than not, each breath between us filled with the weight of what we'd almost lost, and what we still might save. He slept on the couch for 3 nights. Not because I asked, but because he knew I needed space. And each night, I lay awake in bed staring at the ceiling, asking myself the questions we're all afraid to ask. Can love survive betrayal? Can hearts relearn trust? Can we ever go back, or do we have to build something entirely new? Sophie never came back. She didn't need to. Her part in this story had ended, but not without leaving a quiet spark in me. Not romantic, not fully. Just honest. Her parting words echoed in my mind. You're stronger than he thinks. And I realized she was right. This wasn't just about Jake's mistake. It was about the erosion that happened long before. The emotional distance. The way we both stopped choosing each other. Slowly. Quietly. One night, as the rain returned and the world outside softened into silver shadows, Jake sat across from me, eyes raw and open. "I know I failed you," he said. "But I haven't stopped loving you. Even in the worst of it." I looked at him, and for the first time, I didn't see the man who betrayed me. I saw the man who broke under the weight of his own silence. And maybe I'd broken too. I reached out. Took his hand. It wasn't a vow, but it was something close. A step. A choice. Love, I learned, isn't just a feeling. It's a decision we make every day, to show up. To speak. To stay. And sometimes, even after the worst of storms, we're still willing to rebuild. So we're starting over. Not from where we left off, but from who we are now. If you've ever questioned what love really means in the face of betrayal, or how to trust again when your heart is still trembling, I hope our story gave you something to think about. Tell me. Have you ever forgiven someone who broke you? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And let me know if you'd like a sequel to see what happens next.